to start this thing up?
Sure.
Oh, here we go. A little bit of key action. Oh, you wired up that? Oh, it's just hooked up to the factory harness.
My thought is the connector can live under here, so if we ever want to like plug it in and get the diagnostic, like the codes off it or something like that.
Right to the dash, dude. Right
I was
there.
thinking the same thing.
Ooh, don't break it.
It would be really cool to actually have it mounted on the dash. Other than the only thing it's doing is just coolant, and those are useless because.
Well, it's a tap, right?
Yeah.
That's loud. Hold on. I'll go across the street. So apparently somebody's trying to buy the house across the street. Came over and asked us if it was always this loud with the Hayabusa truck. So I'm gonna go across the street and film to see exactly how loud it is. If you're living here, you'll probably get used to this. Wow. Is there a choke?
There is, yeah. It's not on right now.
That's loud. Woo!
Weird. It threw its toes for some reason.
Wow. Wow. Evil.
Pretty loud for outside, huh?
It's loud. Now why don't you kill it and wow. Why don't you move the shifter back and forth so you can see how the
Oh, sure.
mechanism works. Yeah.
So you got that's upshift or upshift, downshift. Pretty simple sequential setup. It seems to be like pretty much perfectly balanced. Like this is so that's kind of the free play of the shifter. So if you're driving the bike, that's what you'd feel before it actually engages into there.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Well, it doesn't really do it when it's not running, but like that's pretty much fully engaged. So I would say it has a perfect amount of travel.
We're getting close.
And so whatever the couple of the lights that would be pretty cool to like actually wire to the dash. So my guess with this little light right here, I think that well, it looks like an e-brake light, but I don't think it is. I think it's the original like check engine light that this Minitruck had, because it's not the e-brake light. Everything's hooked up and it doesn't go off.
It doesn't have anything on. It's just like a caution or something.
Emergency thing, but it'd be cool to wire up like, let's say the oil light to that one. So if the oil pressure's gone, and then the neutral light, we could wire up to like what would normally light up when the when the center, the transfer case was locked or something like that too. So you can actually see when you get in neutral, you don't have to guess, because it still works.
Oh yeah, I see.
So that'd be cool. And then figuring out what we're gonna do as far as getting the temperature hooked up to the actual Minitruck. The sucky thing is, the speedometer cable went from the transmission, so we're not gonna have this speedometer working, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I said we should just put a vapor. over
really,
the whole thing.
that's actually would probably work.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
Or a little stick-on stage 6 speedometer right here.
I think we should just use scooter parts on the dash.
Yeah.
For sure. COSO gauge or something like that. You really could. Fire's right up. So I ordered CNC adapters for the oil cooler line, so we'll just move the oil cooler because that obviously is not going to work. But the main issue now is figuring out the clutch. So the clutch master sits inside like this, and it's going to contact the drive shaft. So we're going to take this in to my machinist and basically build us a. What the? Runs, as you guys heard. What are we waiting on? Lots of parts. The hurdle we've gotten over now is we figured out, Chris and I and Carter have, Chris is the one who set this up, but the issue we're having is the stock slave solenoid for the clutch. There's a big cover here, as most of you Hayabusa guys know, or all you Hayabusa guys know. There's a cover that goes over this whole area where the slave is housed, and we just thought we'd cut it out, see if it would fit, but it doesn't. The drive shaft flange would contact that cover and the actual body of the solenoid itself, or the slave solenoid itself. So what I don't know, this would be considered a solenoid, but the body of this clutch slave was contacting the drive shaft. So what we devised here, and again Chris did this, made a steel plate. We actually took this and rotated it and turned it around, lined it back up again, drilled a hole for the plunger, and now it allows this to clear. So we're going to probably make this little chunk out of billet here, and then countersink these standoffs as well. But it's pretty strong. Decided to test it, so Chris just got it hooked up the stock master here, just to show you guys that it works. You see that plunger moving in and out there. Clutch works, goes in and out of gear and everything really well. This will actually work, but you can see it flexes a little bit. Not really a problem, but we're gonna do it out of billet. May or may not sell those, thinking about it, just because all the searching we've done, we haven't seen anybody selling or making those, because there's no way to run a drive shaft off these Hayabusa motors with the stock setup, and we couldn't find a single thing to mount that. It's relatively simple, but surprisingly nobody makes it. The fuel setup's all good. We ordered, which again, another crazy overpriced Hayabusa part. If you guys think scooter parts are expensive, you should try shopping for Hayabusa parts. They're very simple, and the prices are pretty astronomical for what they are. So see if I can show you guys. Down here, there's a where is it? Right there. That's where the oil cooler line goes. One right there and one right there. Those are just little billet flanges that we're gonna get with threaded outlets on them. They charged me $65 for 2 little billet pieces that are threaded. So again, something we may make, because that's chaos. So got the block off plates here going as well. We've got the little billet adapters for that coming. And Chris, since the oil cooler, or the radiator is not going to work because it's too small, he just modified the bracket to fit the oil cooler under the seat, and we're probably going to make 2 little billet deals for this threaded as well. So the oil cooler's in an area where it gets direct airflow under the seat here, under the front of the truck, and then we're going to run the lines back, and then maybe looking at doing some storage compartments, because Patrick made a good suggestion. Make some storage compartments. As you guys can see, that's kind of how it's loosey-goosey, it's not hooked up, but that's how the shifter works. It's got a cable going back there. We've got the electronic vacuum solenoid coming as well. Battery is in. Easy peasy. I'm hoping that again, we haven't figured out reverse yet, so probably not gonna have reverse right now, just because the only option I can see is about $1,500 or something like that, and it also makes this area shorter, and I had to find a way to mount it, and anyways, I gotta figure that out. But honestly, I can probably live without having reverse for a little bit. This truck doesn't, I mean, you can just barely push on it, and it doesn't weigh anything. So worst case scenario, if we have to put our foot out and turn the truck, it's not that big of a deal. We're just in the summer picking up bikes, running errands, dropping off packages. It's so tiny, it'll just whip around anywhere. So right now, not the biggest concern. I've got a Willwood, see a little note? No oil. If you're ever working on stuff, this is a good idea to remind yourself, or if you're hanging out with your buddies, or your buddy comes over, you guys are drinking beer and doing whatever you're doing, and you want to start it up to impress your friends, it's a good idea to have a note to make sure that you don't blow your engine up. We're going to take the clutch pedal out And we're gonna do a Willwood floor mounted pedal. Buddy Richie on Facebook is doing a Hayabusa, sweet little Hayabusa car. So if the Willwood doesn't work on this, I'm gonna sell it to him, but at least I can take it, mock it up, and see if it works.
Responded to this notification. It's
Vehicle
not too
warranty.
late. Please don't make the mistake of driving without a warranty.
Oh.
Vehicle specialist here.
Oh, hi, Joseph.
Speaking with today.
Hello?
Why are you still saying hello if you just said hello?
I'm sorry, I don't hear very good. I'm sorry. I'm 83, so, what was the question?
Yeah, what's your first and last name?
Myrtle?
Myrtle Smith? You sound like a man.
You sound like you need a good spanking, young man. Maybe your parents didn't spank you, or maybe you were dropped on your head as a small boy, and now you're a little bit slow, I think. You should treat your elders with respect.
Are you gonna spank me here?
It sounds like you need a good whooping, yeah.
Sure, if you want to go ahead and do that, I'm down. I'm kinky enough.
I don't, you need to treat your elders with respect, young man.
What you look like, little mama? I'm trying to bust them cheeks.
I don't follow. My teeth?
Your booty cheeks.
I don't understand.
I'm trying to dive into your booty cheeks.
I don't understand. I thought this was about insurance.
I just want your information. Can you give me your card number now? I am a god, man.
Woo! Didn't see that coming. What a scumbag. Back to work. Yeah, so I don't remember where I was. Okay, we went over the clutch setup. The death spree that should get hacked apart and thrown away because it's just that. I think, well, Chris has crashed on it once or twice, but I almost crashed on it, but I have survived. This guy's probably gonna go like this. It's kind of what we're thinking. Something like that. We have a fan. That guy should work. Give the guys something to do tomorrow. Set this bad boy right here. We have our cooling set up. The drive shaft I'm gonna pick up tomorrow. And then we got these ridiculously expensive little CNC pieces. So I don't wanna hear anybody ever complain about our CNC being too much. These two little guys right here. Ready? These two little guys, these two O-rings, and these 4 screws. Shin's actually sharp to the touch there. It's not very good machine work. Was $77 shipped. So what these are, these bolt to the engine and allow for oil cooling lines to come off the motor to remote mount the oil cooler. 77 bucks for these guys. Kind of a bum deal. Went to 6 States this morning, and they didn't have the 3-bolt adapter for the drive shaft. They sent me over to Driveline Services of Portland, and the problem being that the drive shaft is so short, and you need to slip in there the 3-bolt on one side and the 4-bolt oddball on the other. They quoted me $500 to $700 for this thing. It's gonna take a month. So I just let them have it. It's not really, I don't really have a ton of options, and told them the horsepower range, so they're gonna make a bigger shaft. It's only 2 feet long, but since it has so many parts to it and so many oddball parts and such a mismatch that it's just gonna be super expensive. The bump part is I'm gonna have about $1,000 in this drive shaft, which sucks, but it'll all be brand new and it's all custom and it's so short. I didn't expect to spend that much money, but I don't have a choice, and it sucks that it's a month out. That being said, we have other things to work on. We have the cooling system, the clutch, and all that good stuff. But we are fortunate to have Driveline Services. We have a lot of shops like that around here in Portland, which is really nice. You can just bounce from one to the other. And it's a custom project that they probably don't want to do, because they're used to doing these big, giant drive shafts like that for big trucks. And when I walked in there, and there's probably 1,000 pounds worth of giant semi-truck drive shafts. So this little tiny thing is probably not exactly what they want to do. So onward and upwards and forward. Oh, it's snowing, by the way. Kind of weak little snowflakes. They're super weak snowflakes, but they are snowflakes. All right, back to the shop we go. Went out to the machinist today, local machinist, City Machine, does awesome work, and got my billet adapter. Let me find it. Found it. So check this out. What this is gonna do, this is gonna bolt to the this will bolt to the differential, and then this part will fit that 3-bolt isolation bushing, just like this. And it's clearance to clear the nut there. It's gonna bolt on just like this. The bum part about this is it's gonna go away when we do a different diff, but that's just the nature of the beast. So we're gonna come off of this guy, and then we're gonna put the rubber isolation bushing on it on the other side, and then go from here to here. Since the motorcycles have a cush drive, and obviously the Minitruck does not, this is an extra added piece. It definitely was a little costly to do, but these 3 bolts, none of these holes are tied together other than the rubber, and these 3 bolts are going to tie to obviously the bushing, and these 3 bolts are going to be to the other side to the motor. As you can see, we have the radiator mounted up. Looks pretty good. Got the fan on there. Guys ran it for about 10 minutes last night, and didn't even get warm without the fan at all being on, which is a good sign. We've got the top mounted on some rubber isolation bushings here. In the bottom, we just took a bar from here all the way down to the bottom of the radiator. It's really, really strong, and it's also 100% rubber mounted, which is nice. Got the billet adapter on. I already told you guys about the $700 drive shaft, but just how it's gonna be. The other thing we got dialed in, so we had some, let me get you guys down here in this little weird spot here. We had originally put in, we got some really strong rubber line for the oil cooler, thinking that pressure was somewhat low, but it was crazy high. So we went ahead and went to Oil Filter Services, which is here in Portland, a really, really good shop, and got some really high quality lines, some stainless lines, and went ahead and got those all in up to the oil cooler. So you guys can kind of see how that's routed up to the front of the truck. 400-degree temp, so this should be plenty for what we're doing. Got those guys in, so the oil cooler's pretty much there. Got the headers back on the truck. Up the top here, the guys did a good job too. So these plates here, get the flashlight. These are the factory outlets with these kind of metal hoses that were, or I guess you should say metal hardline that was kind of like this weird braised fitting here. Went ahead and took the factory pieces and just took them off and just drilled and tapped them, and it worked really well. We could make these out of CNC, but it was like gonna take 2.5 weeks to have it done, and I really didn't want to wait that long. So factory oil cooler here is going in the location of the original radiator that we had. So So yeah, the turned out really good. The guys got the cooling lines in and everything, got the coolant all bled and whatnot. The fan actually, so here's the next plan, next thing we're gonna do here. We're gonna take this radiator back off. We're gonna weld 2 bungs in here. One's gonna be for the, one's gonna be for the factory Minitruck temp gauge. Or it's gonna be for, I have a PLX gauge setup that we may use as well. So one's gonna be for like an auxiliary temp gauge on the dash. The other one is going to be the fan control, which is cool. So this will still work with the Hayabusa harness in the ECU, where it's a 2-speed fan. So when the sensor on the engine reads a certain temperature, it's going to kick that fan on low speed, and then if it reads another temp, it's going to kick it on high speed. So we need to have those 2 bungs welded in there. My TIG and myself, I don't have the skill set yet for aluminum, and my TIG is not set up for aluminum yet. Got some really good resources, some guys that do really good work, and what we're gonna do is take that back off, drain it of course, say hey, we want 2 bungs welded here, and then he'll get that thing all dialed in. And then the clutch, we basically kind of mock this thing up to get a feel for how it's gonna work. It's really, really tight because that's the front of the truck, and as you can see, the angle, the pedal's way up here. The pedal's way up here, where the other ones are down here. So what we're gonna do is cut this back as far as we can, and then we're gonna take and draw a line and basically take this where the pedal is and move it down here. So we're gonna take this thing and take it to the same guy that does aluminum, because again, we don't have the ability to do that, and cut this all the way down and relocate this pad here all the way down. That way, because this is a full Willwood setup, and that way we'll have our pedal close. The throw is gonna be a little bit different than what we have, you know, matching the other pedals, but it really shouldn't be too far off. And that's a good solution. These are about 160 bucks. It's a really nice beefy setup, and you've got some adjustment here. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, tips, advice on what we have going on here, feel free to post down below.